best bites forever.
What's up everyone, I'm Chef Alicia, and today I'm going to combine two of my very favorite flavors together. I am going to put together, hello pumpkin, hello bacon, oh let's get together, and they're going to make babies and they're going to make a donut together. That's right, pumpkin and bacon donuts, that's what I'm going to do. This is what my husband calls getting dirty in the kitchen because yes, I am about to put 1/4 cup of bacon grease into donuts and then I'm going to fry it, and guess what? It is going to be fabulous and I'm super excited to eat it. So let's get started. Yeah, let's do this. I'm going to start off with 3½ cups of self-rising flour, and to that I am going to add 2 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice. I make my own mix for this, and if you'd like the recipe, it is in my videos on my channel. I'm also going to add 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Here I'm using 1/4 teaspoon of smoked salt and 1/4 teaspoon of iodized, but if you want a more traditional donut, just use iodized. Next, I'm going to render some fat from my bacon. Bacon dance, bacon dance, bacon dance, bacon dance. That's a fancy way of saying that I'm going to cook it and take the grease off of it. So I'm just going to pour the grease right into a little strainer here, and there's my beautiful bacon grease. You can cover that and put it in the fridge for up to a couple of weeks. So I'm going to use 1/4 cup of that bacon grease that I just rendered, and I'm mixing that with 1 cup of sugar. And I'm just kind of creaming it until it's nice and well combined. Once it's combined, I'm going to add 2 eggs into the mixture along with 1½ teaspoons of vanilla. And again, I'm going to mix those until they are nice and combined together. And they are going to look like this, all yummy and beautiful. Once you get that mixed up, take a second to scrape the sides and the bottom of your bowl. You just want to make sure that nothing is sticking, you know, a chunk of bacon grease or whatever down on the bottom. Next, I'm adding in 1/2 cup of sour cream. And I'm going to mix that together really well also. Then I'm going to add 15 ounces of pumpkin puree. I make my own and then I freeze it, but you're also welcome to just use 1 can of pumpkin puree. And I am going to give the measurements to all of these ingredients at the very, very end of the recipe. Again, take a second to scrape your bowl, the bottoms and the sides, and then I'm going to add in 1/3 cup of my flour mixture. Mix that in just until it's combined. If you overmix your flour, you can end up with kind of, you know, a tougher donut, and we don't want tough donuts. So once that flour is just mixed in, I'm going to add in 1/2 of my buttermilk. And then again, I'm just going to mix that until it's barely combined. What I'm doing here is I'm going back and forth between my dry ingredients and what I have left of my wet. So there goes another 1/3 of my flour, which I mixed in, and now I'm adding in the rest of my buttermilk. I'm going to scrape my sides as long as I'm not busy doing anything else, you know, and then I'm going to mix in that buttermilk, and the last addition of my flour is going to go in, and I'm going to mix that again just until it's combined. Don't end up with tough donuts. Once you get that all mixed in, you're going to have a beautiful dough, and it is going to be a pretty sticky dough, which is just fine. That's what you're looking for. Cover it up with plastic wrap and put it in the fridge for 3 hours. Meanwhile, we're going to fry up 1/2 pound of bacon, and I'm doing this in batches so that I have nice crispy bacon. So good. So good. Ow! And I'm also going to mix my toppings. So here I have 1 cup of sugar and 2 teaspoons of pumpkin spice, and over here I have 2 cups of powdered sugar, and I'm mixing just a few tablespoons of buttermilk in there, and I'm looking for this consistency. So once you're there, you're there. Meanwhile, my bacon is done cooking, so I'm going to drain the grease off of it, and I'm going to chop it into little crumbles or just use my hands and crumble it up. So I'm going to give you 2 options with your dough here. You can either use it as is once it's chilled for 3 hours and make fritters. So these are kind of like a free-form donut. They're beautiful, they're fluffy, and they're delicious, and they don't take any more work. If you want to do the donuts, we got to put a little bit more work in, but these guys, you can just fry them and then roll them around in that sugar, and they are good to go. Otherwise, you're going to take that dough and place it on a well-floured surface, put some flour right on top of it, and then, I don't want to say that I'm kneading the dough because kneading it could, again, make it tough, but I just want to incorporate some flour into it until the dough stiffens up a little bit. So if you watch what I'm doing here, once I kind of get it going, I'm going to go from one side to the top to the other side, and then I'm going to flip over the bottom, and I'm doing this for probably a total of 30 seconds. Again, I'm just trying to stiffen up my dough a little bit until it has kind of this texture right here. There's my dough. So once you're here, see how nice and, you know, it's definitely stiffened up a little bit. You're going to press it down to about a 1/2 inch thickness, depending on how thick you want your end result donut to be. Remember, they're going to fluff up at least by double. Fluff up at least by double. I said it. They're going to like double in size. Okay, so keep that in mind as you're pressing this down and deciding how thick you want it to be. I'm going about a 1/2 inch thick with mine, but you can make your own decisions here. So I'm just going to use a circle cutter and cut out my beautiful donuts. And of course, you need to have a tiny little hole in the middle of your donut, and that also is going to give you some delicious little donut holes to fry up and eat. So another thing is I did flour my ring cutters because it will stick to the dough if you don't put a little bit of flour on them. Go ahead and cut out all of your donuts, and then we're going to move over here to the frying oil. So I have some nice hot oil over here waiting on my donuts, and I'm going to place them in there one by one, starting with the back. That way I don't get any, you know, bubbles going up onto my wrist as I'm placing the other ones in. And I'm going to let them cook until they're golden brown, and then I'm going to give them a flip and let them cook on the other side so that they're golden brown and beautiful on both sides. And of course, cook my little donut holes in the rest of my dough too. Once you have them all cooked, they are ready to glaze. So you just need to give them a nice dip inside the glaze and then a nice push on top of your little crumbled up bacons.
Eat the bacon, eat the bacon, eat the bacon.
And these donuts are still warm, but they're not super hot, so I'm not burning myself. And here they are, all beautiful and plated. There's your fritter, and there are your donuts.
For more delicious recipes, be sure to check out my YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe while you're there. You can also check out bestbitesforever.com. Thank you so much for watching, and happy cooking, everyone.
bestbitesforever.com.
No, really. You had me at bacon. Yeah, you had me at bacon. You had me at bacon. Whatever. Crap's funny. Don't lie.
Eat your bacon, eat your bacon. Yeah, This